Recently on a Discord I frequent, someone posted that there was a free game on Steam. It boasted open world gameplay, a huge map, lots of guns, the ability to stalk anyone. Count me in! But then I saw that the reviews for the game were pretty scathing. Okay, now I really needed to play it. Before I move on to anything else, I want to talk about the title screen. This isn't getting things off on the right foot. For one, I thought the game glitched or froze up or something, because there's absolutely no music during this screen. There were sound effects, so I knew it was actually supposed to be like this. The title screen is one of the first instances of showing what a developer can do and can help attract you to keep playing the game. By having a bland still screen with no music, it's not doing the game any favors. And more than that, what's going on here? I found it to be a strange choice that the main character, Sawyer according to the Steam page, is drawn in, yet the person in the upper right corner who I'd assume to be the quote-unquote lost daughter is photorealistic. It's so weird. But if you think that's the worst the game has to offer, you have another thing coming. So yes, you play as Sawyer, who mysteriously wakes up in the hospital with a concussion. He doesn't remember anything, and the doctor tells him a girl brought him here, who they think might be his daughter. Sawyer thinks he needs to immediately set out to find her, even though he literally just woke up with a freaking concussion and doesn't remember shit about anything. And in case you're curious, no, you never learn what happened with Sawyer to land him in the hospital. But you do find his daughter, but I won't spoil that part, just in case you did want to sadistically play this game. From the start, you need to escape a hospital that, for some reason, is crawling with oddly uniformed police officers. Personally, I thought they more resembled a gang of thugs, but whatever. Sawyer must have a guilty conscience, because you're told that while you're escaping, you need to evade all confrontation with these guys. Again, why he feels the need to avoid the officers is never explained. And it's in the first mission where you're realizing that the game has absolutely no logic. You're told that you can't get within 4 to 5 meters or so of an enemy, but that's still standing practically in front of them. But you mean to tell me that unless you're practically kissing these guys, they'll leave you alone? Then what's the purpose? Whatever. The gameplay doesn't get any better in the second mission, where you now need to run away from a massive platoon of thugs for 60 seconds. I struggled at first in this mission. I tried hiding behind buildings. I tried to hijack a car that was stuck on the sidewalk. Literally. I tried to run behind the hospital. The only way I was able to succeed the literal line of enemies was to run straight on the road. That's right, run straight. Not put objects between me and them, just open roadway. Dear God. So after that, you get to steal a car. Kind of. See, in Lost Daughter, you can't just take any car that pulls up, which is good because traffic isn't exactly heavy. But no, you have to actually go to one of several very specific spots, which amount almost to dealerships, and take one of those cars. So used cars just aren't good enough for Sawyer. He's above that. Instead, he only takes brand new ones. There aren't a lot of different types of vehicles, and the differences between each are very negligible. In fact, the starting sedan seemed to be the best controlling one. Speed-wise, I could swear that the convertible was actually slower, as I was able to do nothing but squeal the tires constantly, so I quickly ditched that one for all reliable. Oh, the tire squealing. Get used to it. Seriously, it's crazy and gets old very quickly. Doesn't matter if you're on the road or dirt, you will burn those tires out. As a plus though, cars cannot take any damage. None at all. Slam into a wall at max speed? No biggie. Roll the vehicle a few times? It'll just flop over onto the wheels anyway. If you land upside down, the game will just flip you over after a second or two. The only catch is if you get your vehicle stuck at an angle. It happened to me once after going off a grassy hill and landing on a bench. But I was able to eventually steer it off by slowly, very slowly, reversing in one direction until I got unstuck. And yes, this is me glitching the game by exiting and re-entering the car while it was stuck on the bench. Quality, right? It's a good thing that you can't damage your car because it can be very difficult to control. This is because of the frame rate. At first, I thought the shitty rate was due to my aging PC and the gameplay being recorded. Sure, I should upgrade it soon, but I'm thinking that's going to be a next year kind of thing. But anywho, the faster you travel, the more the frame rate seems to stutter. I even stopped recording for a few minutes, rebooting the game, and drove around, and the game still sputtered along. It's terrible, and not something that should be seen in this day and age of gaming. This drop is mostly seen while driving at faster speeds, but it does happen when there are enough entities on the screen too. In fact, there's an option in the options where you can increase or decrease the population of the world. I mean, I saw this frame rate problem in the very first mission, where you're running through that horribly bland hospital with the thuggish police officers. I decided to minimize the population, as much as it hurt me to do so, but it was all in the name of better performance. But if there was actually a difference, I'm not so sure I noticed it. Let me rewind a few seconds and go back to the controls of the game. On foot, I can't say that they are bad, but once again, the driving mechanics are effed up. It's easy to feel like you're driving on a slat of ice, as the car has a tendency of sliding around a bit. When you go to reverse, the camera will immediately snap to a rear view to make things slightly easier, and that's only when reverse actually wants to work. There were a few times as I was playing where I had to keep pressing S to reverse, but nothing was happening until I let go of the key, gave it a second or two, and tried again. To say that this was annoying is an understatement. Oh, and when it's time to enter or eject from your car, you press E. You wouldn't think that this would be a big deal, but there is a noticeable second or so delay between when you press E and when the action happens. There can't be any reason for this not being fixed. Although, maybe there is. Maybe there was supposed to be an enter and exit animation, and that was the reason for the placeholder. I don't know, because if it's not that, I would have no other guess to why this delay is necessary. Finally, in the rare times you have to trail an enemy in a car, good lord, how do I even describe this in words? Cars feel like they are moving on a rail and almost never show any sort of, quote, human-like, unquote, behaviors, such as dodging other pedestrians, stopping at intersections, etc. The turns that they make are so sudden that the drivers have to be getting whiplash when they make them. Thankfully, not all of the action is in your vehicle, and there's a healthy dose of on-foot action where you get to shoot some thugs. Sorry guys, if you think that this is going to fare any better than the driving, again, you are sorely mistaken. At the start, you get to buy a weapon, even though no money is ever collected in the game. In fact, you also first need to steal food from a vending machine, in which a merchant is literally standing in front of them, and you can only take one every 60 seconds. There's also a HUD that shows your inventory, but in my worthless opinion, this HUD is useless in regards to what you actually carry. There are 5 different power-ups, which give you buffs like running speed and health, but personally, I only ever use the one for regaining health, and I think even then only once. But that HUD shows you how many food types and how many drinks you have. If it wanted to be more useful, it should have broken down everything, not just a general count. But back to the weapons. There's a few pistols, rifles, shotgun, an SMG, a rocket launcher, and a sniper rifle that you get to find as the game moves on. All weapon types take the same ammo though, so both pistols use the same bullets, all assault rifles and strangely enough the SMG take another, etc. The shooting mechanics are fairly solid, which is a major prop to the game. It means I got something right. But there's one big problem. You cannot pick up enemy weapons for ammo. This makes some encounters a bit more challenging, at least in the early parts of the game, where you can easily run out of ammo for your pistol. So instead, if you run low, what you must do is run or drive to a gun dealer and simply walk inside. Once you do that, you're topped off and can resume your killing sprees. If you're a considerable distance away from one of these buildings, then you can expect a long delay in the action. The trick to these gunfights in the game is to make sure you kill the enemies before they can shoot you once. This is because it's very easy for your character to take massive amounts of damage while being stun locked by an enemy's automatic fire. Also, the range of most weapons seems to be extremely questionable, but that could really be a lack of expertise with the main character's shooting abilities. Okay, we all know that's not the case, but I'm trying to be semi-nice here. But anyway, what you're going to want to do is try to bait an enemy thug into running towards you, as this seems to signify that they are within killing range. Pop them, and move on. And yes, this needs to be mentioned. This is 2020, right? So why the hell does the blood look like something from the PS2 Mortal Kombat games? It spurts out hilariously and drips off the wounded person. And yes, you bleed this way too. Something else I couldn't help laughing at was the death animations. When you are done riddling your target with bullets, they comically stiff up and fall over. I can't help but compare it to someone being tased. It really doesn't ever get old. And the last comment I must say about the weapons before I move on to the graphics, although both kind of tie in together, the RPG. I was excited. I really was. I wanted to make things go frigging boom. But at the same time, I remember saying out loud, will we see an explosion or just a rocket? Well, yeah. This is all we get. There aren't many times you absolutely need to use the RPG, but if you want to see more hilarious animations, point it at a human, dead or alive, and they just kinda dance along with the bang. I did it on purpose several times just to see this, as it's just freaking great. I was literally, at one point in the game, in tears laughing so hard at this masterpiece. Okay, let's move on to the visuals. Do I really need to go into detail? Because there aren't any details in the game. Buildings have a distinct unfinished look to them. Again, just take a look at the starting hospital and its drab pink walls. The city roads have no distinctive textures. The grass doesn't even load half the time. Seriously, look at this! Driving off-road to Sawyer's middle of freaking nowhere house, half the time I was evading trees that weren't connected to anything because the ground texture never loaded. And when the graphics are there, they often flicker. Even Sawyer's shirt tends to flash when moving. The only good thing to note here is that the vehicles actually look decent. It must be what the developer put the majority of the time into. Well, that and the comic book style cutscenes, as these aren't half bad either. So as you're driving around, you'll notice that the pedestrians, what little there are, don't really try to evade you if you come careening towards them. That's okay though. Go ahead and hit them. They'll just flop around for a little while and then get right back up and keep moving along with their day. Seriously, you cannot kill pedestrians with your car. Shoot them, sure, but then you'll get the gang police on your ass. If they can even find you. The game does give you the number of cops on your tail, but this isn't a big deal because they never even found me once. That's because the map is massive. Seriously, it's a very large open world, but it's entirely barren. Many roads intersect with no rhyme or reason to them, like giving a toddler a piece of paper and asking him to just draw lines on it. That's the road system in this city. And then there are other areas in which you can walk right through them, similar to, say, Road Rage or Ride to Hell. Two games I never really want to ever talk about again. Take this stadium, in which you're supposed to meet up with a hacker to decrypt a USB flash drive. I was walking around the pillars until I found out there was absolutely no collision detection with them, so I was able to run right through. Lovely. Leaving this area, I also ended up in a ditch that I was unable to escape from. Thank God for autosaves, otherwise I would have lost probably 2 hours of content and a little bit more of my sanity. The game itself is probably completable within 2 to 3 hours. There are no side missions, no collectibles, nothing of that sort. Just straight point A to point B gameplay with a throwaway story. Speaking of, it makes absolutely no sense. As I already mentioned, you're never told who Sawyer is and why he was brought to a hospital with a concussion. He goes through some very shady people to find his daughter, which makes you think he may have been a criminal in his past life anyway, but it's never fleshed out. Plus, why is he looking for his kid? Again, the ending is kind of a shock, but it leaves more questions than it answers. Sawyer is looking for his girl, does everything that is asked of him, finds her, and then game over. There's just too many plot holes. 2 final comments before we wrap this shitstorm up. For one, the loading between starting the game and ending it are absurd for a game like this. It takes close to a minute to load, and at the end the loading animation freezes up, making it seem like the game is about to crash. Secondly, the Steam description has a bullet point of, stalk any character. Stalk any character? Since fucking when? Sure, there are times where you need to trail characters for the story progression, but there's never any reason to chase anyone else, nor is there any benefit to. There's nothing to collect, no money, no ammo, no food, no experience bar. So this makes absolutely no sense why they would put this on the Steam features. Okay, that's all I got. Let's be honest for a minute here. Lost Daughter is a terrible game, as in easily one of the worst games I've ever played, and by now you probably know that I've played a lot. I'm drawn to bad games like a moth to flame, but I just want to give some heartfelt advice to the creator. Dude, I can see your heart was there. You just took on way too much for what I would assume to be a lack of experience. Your first game, especially if it was just a lone developer, probably shouldn't be an open world game of this magnitude. It's a case of too much ambition and not enough talent. There's a few inklings of good ideas here and there, but overall, it got released way too early. This game, if there was maybe another year or two in development, may have turned out to be something maybe fun. But in its current state, this is a game that I can only recommend if you want to waste a day and play something so broken, it's enjoyable to see just how bad it is. Final score? 1 out of 7. This is Reaper. Happy fragging.